Russia has confirmed that it used Oreshnik hypersonic missiles to hit Ukraine in an overnight strike, and Russia said the attack was carried out in response to a drone strike in December targeting Putin's residence. And according to Kyiv, Russia launched 36 missiles, 242 drones overnight at Ukraine's capital and surrounding areas. At least 4 people were killed. At least 4 people were killed, 6 others injured. In fact, 3 of them taken to hospital. In fact, in western Ukraine, officials said a Russian attack hit an infrastructure facility in the Lviv region. The Lviv mayor and regional governor confirmed the strike, but did not provide details about the damage or the weapons used. This comes after the Ukrainian president, remember, warned that a large-scale Russian strike could take place overnight and urged the citizens to remain alert and heed air raid warnings. This marks the second instance in the war in which Russia fired a missile from a strategic nuclear forces testing ground located far from Ukraine's borders. Russia previously used the Kapustin Yar site in 2024 to launch the Oreshnik missile against Ukraine. And in December last year, the Belarusian president, remember, stated that Russia had deployed its latest nuclear-capable missiles to Belarus.
In the event of an escalation of the conflict, armed forces are designated, several tens of thousands of personnel in Western Russia, who are to be immediately brought into combat as the second echelon. Belarus goes in first. We must respond. Then Russia supports us. This is precisely what constitutes the regional grouping of forces, including the tactical nuclear weapons that we have returned to Belarus. In addition, the first positions have been equipped with the Oreshnik missile system.
In fact, Russia's Oreshnik falls in the category of an intermediate-range ballistic missile. Intermediate-range ballistic missile. It is capable of striking targets at distances of up to 5,500 kilometers and can reach speeds as high as Mach 10. In fact, the missile is designed to carry multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, allowing it to deploy up to 6 separate warheads in a single launch. And in a related development, Russia said that its forces had captured 1 more settlement in Ukraine's Dnipropetrovsk region, while Ukraine reported a grim situation on the front lines, particularly in the Pokrovsk region.
Any significant long-range ballistic missile will travel at speeds in excess of Mach 5. And again, people are making a big deal about this thing going 3.5 kilometers per second. An ICBM fired to its full range, will travel at like 7 kilometers a second. So like twice that speed.
And from Doha with us is Jane Kinnan-Mont. She is the Chief Executive Officer at the United Nations Association, UK, and a Senior Associate Fellow at the ELN. Thanks very much, Jane, for being here. I have to first ask you for your assessment of where things stand right now, given the efforts that have been made. But where do you see things standing right now at this moment?
This is a major escalation by Russia overnight, both the use of the hypersonic missile and a barrage of other missiles that has left a very large part of the Ukrainian capital without energy going into the winter. And it may be intended partly also as a message to the US, coming so soon after Trump's attack on Venezuela. American officials have portrayed the abduction of Venezuelan President Maduro as a win against Russia and China, because Maduro's government has been very closely allied with Russia and China. And the US is now saying that Venezuela is going to change and that its oil will now be controlled in some way by the US instead of going to benefit allies of Venezuela that the US considers to be adversaries. So I think all of these things are connected. The use of this hypersonic missile isn't just about the actual damage that it does, but it is being used essentially for psychological warfare as well as real warfare, because hypersonic missiles are one of the areas where Russia has got a military advantage. And also, it brings back that very slight hint, that very slight reminder that Russia has nuclear weapons.
Indeed, and like you said, a lot of the psychological warfare and several rounds of which, in fact, we have seen, and these rounds of escalation, but this one and where things stand right now when it comes to peace efforts as well, how optimistic really are you?
Not optimistic at all. You know, I mean, it must be emphasized, these are attacks against civilian targets, so totally out of line with international humanitarian law. We've had this conflict now going on for coming up for 4 years. There continues to be talk of a ceasefire. There's been a lot of talk about potentially a European force going in to guarantee a ceasefire. But we don't actually see signs that Russia itself necessarily wants a ceasefire. What has been discussed by the US is some way to freeze the existing front lines, but it seems that Russia actually wants more territory than that. And when I talk to Russian experts, they also have real doubts about whether Russia is prepared to make an agreement with Zelensky's government, because part of their agenda from day one has been to overthrow that government. They do not want a pro-Western government in Kyiv at all. Now, they have not been able to overthrow it, and they haven't been able to capture Kyiv militarily, but it's not at all clear that Russia is ready even for the kind of deal that the US has been talking about, which meanwhile we know Europeans think is too pro-Russian. So I am not very optimistic, I'm afraid.
Right, we're leaving it there for the moment, Jane. Thanks very much. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.